Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Timothy. I'm your host today for the MBS Podcast. That's super fucking cringy. I don't even want to say that again. Fuck, holy shit. But today, the topic we're going to talk about is regarding how many cultures influence men to not cry or show weakness. Before we get started, this is not meant to be medical information. It's simply my opinion. This kind of topic is outside of my area of expertise, but I just want to provide my 2 cents on it. That's it. Anyways, aside from that, let's get started. I feel like a lot of people, including myself, have been raised in a way to think that crying is for ladies, or that crying is a form of weakness, or that you shouldn't cry if you're a man. And honestly, I completely disagree with that, and I actually hate that shit. In my opinion, if you cry, you're simply just releasing your emotions, and you're releasing your stress, your sadness, your suffering, your pain, all that stuff. And honestly, it's not a bad thing. We all need that kind of moment eventually to, express that form of sadness. You can't just stay hardened for the rest of your life. It's simply not going to happen. You have to express your vulnerability at some point. Now, I'm not saying that you should cry everywhere you go, but there is a time and place where you should cry, usually in the safety of your own home, where you can express your vulnerability and, you can be safe. I feel like the problem really comes in when people restrict themselves from crying or coping properly to a said situation, and it just takes a toll on their mental state over time. So here's an analogy I can try and use to express the emotional state between someone who expresses their emotions properly, say through crying, and for those who don't cry and try to restrict their emotions, okay? So say we have one baseline, okay? We have one baseline, and then both parties have stress levels that are super, super high, okay? For the party that's going to cry, their stress levels are going to go way down, and then they're probably going to return near baseline, if not at baseline, okay, of their emotional state, which means they're calmed down, okay? For those who haven't cried and haven't really coped with their problem properly, and they try to build up, yes, eventually their stress might go down a little bit, but still gonna be there. Okay? It's still gonna be there chipping away at that person's mental state. And then eventually it will build up over and over and over until the body can't handle it, and then all those emotions just come flooding out for no reason. Actually, it's not that it's no reason, but that you couldn't handle the stress anymore. And that's completely normal because no one can completely suppress their emotions and their sadness like a robot can. We're humans, we're not robots. For those such as myself who can't properly cry anymore, or at least not that easily, we end up releasing our sadness in other ways. Like we lash out at other people, we yell, we scream, but we can't cry properly because we don't know the feeling anymore. Because we've been taught to not show weakness, and crying is a form of weakness, apparently, in society's terms. And because of that, some of us, we have higher aggression than when we were kids, or when we were young teenagers. The moral of the story is, don't try to suppress your emotions too much. You have to release them at some point, whether that's sadness, anger, hatred, whatever. Express your sadness, and then move on. Now, there's a few things we can try and do that can improve society's outlook on crying as a coping mechanism rather than a form of weakness. First thing is raising awareness, pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to explain too much about that. Second thing is to provide funding for research articles regarding emotional health. We probably don't know enough about emotions because, we haven't actually explored the brain fully yet, so who knows. But we haven't explored enough about emotions, so we tend to stick with our biases or what we were taught when we were younger. And that brings me into our next point. Start educating your close friends and family, that includes your children, about how crying is not a form of weakness, but rather it's a form of coping. And it's a good form of coping. It's not something that's meant to be restricted all the time. There's a time and place for it, but yeah, you can probably understand by now. Anyways, that's the end of this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this weird topic, and I will be posting as frequently as I can, probably once or twice a week. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy your day. Talk to you guys later.